You know, when I was watching the game the other night, we, or as I do personally, had a hard time finding myself being happy for them because the Knicks have so many shitty fans at the very top in terms of affluence that are full-blown supporters of Israel, led by Jerry Seinfeld. And it's very tough to watch the Madison Square Garden crowd, especially in the lower bowl, that are full-blown Zionists cheering on the Knicks. I don't want them to have that satisfaction. But I also know that there are millions of Knicks fans that are working-class New Yorkers that have been hoping to see a championship at some point in their lifetime. And so I do want to see them win for those fans. Those fans matter. But then you have somebody like Stephen A. Smith, who I have never liked. I really do not understand how people ever found this guy appealing. He's always been a joke. He was never an athlete. He is one of those guys who's always, he's a, I can't think of the right phrase to describe him, but he's always been one of those proverbial insiders that thinks he can make or break a player's career. He really thinks he has the Midas touch. This has always been his modus operandi. And there are people who also are blowing enough smoke up his ass to make him think that he's got political aspirations in his future. That's why he makes statements like this.
Israel. The folks in Israel are great people, great basketball fans. I've been asked to come there on several occasions. One day I'm going to make it my business to get there. But everybody that I've ever met from Israel is wonderful. A bunch of nice.
Everybody you've ever met from Israel is wonderful. Now, how many IDF soldiers does that include in particular, I would wonder? Has he ever watched a video of anything that Israel's been doing over the past 3 years? And I'm only talking the past 3 years. We're not even talking about what's gone on for many generations. But this is the type of statement that could only be made by somebody who clearly has political aspirations on his mind. Why would he make this statement? There's no justification to say this. No one would, again, I'm sure he does. I have no doubt that they love each other. Maybe Stephen A. has some skeletons in his closet that he doesn't want to have come out. Maybe we need to look into him. What has he got going on? He's not married. He's like 60 years old. He claims to have a whole bunch of girlfriends. And yet I've never heard one of them publicly, ever. And in reality, I don't care about any of that shit. But I care about this statement. This statement's really messed up.
Kind people go through a lot, obviously, and we understand that. But I want you to know, people in America got love for y'all.
No, we don't. And who the hell is he to think that he's going to speak on behalf of our country? That's the other perplexing thing. Stephen A. Smith is paid, I believe, in excess of over $10 million a year to pontificate on sports. And there are people who honestly think that his opinion matters. And he's a Knicks fan, and he's hoping to celebrate tonight. And I have no doubt that he's prancing around the sidelines in San Antonio right now, thinking it's his moment. And maybe it is. But if you ever had any doubt that he's a bad guy, now the doubt has completely been removed. As I said, I've never liked his shtick, his I'm a bad brother shtick. I don't buy into that. And now, excuse my English, but he's cooning for Israel? For the love of Christ. I mean, this should be career-ending shit. And who in the fuck would prompt him to even talk about such an issue? Why does the opinion of Stephen A. Smith and the issue of Israel even matter, especially right now? Why in this moment would you need Stephen A. Smith's opinion about Israel? And why would it be so demonstrative on his part in the way he explained his love for Israel? What's that shit about? And of course, he's naturally not going to say anything about Palestine. Why would he? He couldn't possibly. And so when we talk about this type of, when you talk about real Uncle Tom behavior on behalf of the corporate establishment that hates your guts but loves it, if you will, convince other people in the Black community that Israel's pretty swell and they're really great. Well, maybe Stephen A. Smith is auditioning for Leo Terrell's position.
Free speech, First Amendment free speech does not allow individuals on the local level, federal level, to incite and to encourage crimes or to encourage victims to be basically denied their personal rights. Let me be very clear. What is happening is free speech is being used to allow Jewish communities to be attacked. And what happens? Todd, these individuals get arrested and they're released. I would ask anyone watching this program, where are the hate crime charges being filed by Alvin Bragg in New York or in Chicago or in Los Angeles or in Detroit? You know where the hate crime charges are being filed? By the Department of Justice on the federal level. What I'm trying to do in this 15-city tour is to make sure that citizens in these cities who are not getting help at the local level, they have alternatives from the federal government and to make sure they know what their rights are. It's not only the failure to prosecute hate crimes, Todd, but it's a indoctrination of these teachers unions to brainwash our K-12 kids to believe in anti-Semitism.
Yeah, that's some serious cooning level right there, I have to say. And this is what you get paid to do. And this is oftentimes what ends up happening in Black communities across the country. People that are supposed to be leading them, guiding them to a more positive future, end up getting led by people like this. And so when Stephen A. Smith has aspirations of some type of political grandeur, you know, look, he'll fail spectacularly if he ends up. People have suggested that he's going to run for president. I want to see it happen. I would like to see it happen. I'd like to see him make a complete fool of himself. And hopefully he will. But we're in a very interesting place right now. To even think that there are those who are still on the side of Israel at this point, or that they're singing Israel's praises. I'm sure that they do, Dr. MK Ultra. Like, is there anybody who really thinks that such a proud apartheid nation doesn't want everybody not to be Eastern European? I mean, that's the whole thing about the Ashkenazi movement. This is why it's such a serious problem. This is why you can never doubt what their intentions are. And so for Stephen A. to be so illiterate about this issue, to presume nothing short of an absolute ignorant fool when it comes to the issue of Israel, I got nothing but love for the Israel people. They're my people. I love them. Do you love this, Stephen A.?
Of the Gaza Strip. We can't just take a whole strip of land and say Israelis can't live there. That doesn't make sense. This is our sovereign state.
Would you live there?
Of course.
By the beach?
Oh, for sure. Yes, my husband's also talking about building. He has a yeshiva, a Talmudic Institute here, so building a branch in Gaza. We have lists already about 500 families that are willing, on the drop of a hat, to just move into, we have North, Central, and South Gaza, and people are going to start building towns. We have names of the towns, we have where we're building them. It's already being planned, and we have people signed up.
Can you believe how excited she is that they completely devastated all of Gaza, and now they're going to buy up the land? You know, the land sales that take place in New York and Los Angeles? Yeah, you know, we bought that land. And now we're going to come in here and we're going to totally build it up. And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be gorgeous. Aren't you excited? Let me tell you something. That hat, that's a nice touch because she's probably allergic to the sun. But here I am thinking, aren't you native to this land? I mean, that's what you've been trying to convince people of for the longest time. So what's the deal here? This is our land. Really? You mean it's the land that you've stolen? The land that you've conquered? That's what you mean. I don't want to say what I really think of this Zion-Nazi, but I think you all kind of get an idea of where my head's at.
You can't leave it without Jews in the Gaza Strip. It's too big a piece of land. It's too important for us to let it become Hamas town, as we call it, full of terrorists.
That is the face of evil. That is somebody who identifies as an Israeli, and that is somebody that Stephen A. thinks is a swell person. It's not my birthday. I don't know why that just happened. Amazing. Get the balloons to show up. Yeah, again. But that is a big part of the problem. And that's why this ideology is a death cult. And as I said, whether or not the New York Knicks win the NBA title tonight, we can have no doubt about how evil and despicable the Zionist entity truly is. We can never lose sight of how bad this is. Because on the one hand, you're only hearing remnants from a Zionist scumbag who has no humanity whatsoever. And then you look at what ends up happening as a result of their detestable, violent, inhumane rhetoric and how that plays out. How the Israelis, Stephen A., conduct business on a regular basis. This just happened a few days ago. Mohammed was shot and killed by Israeli forces. Colin, keep in mind, timestamp this in case any issue comes up with the audio. Why would you feel the need to fire live ammunition at a fishing boat? You know, kind of like with the infant in the car. What exactly is the threat here? But no one ever talks about this. This, again, is why it must be documented. The people who just sit idly by and say nothing, who think that this is acceptable discourse, that a 15-year-old fisherman was targeted for assassination because he was so damn threatening. Let me tell you. It is heartbreaking, angering, and yet we do not get angry enough at the people in our country that we have control over that are in support of this bullshit. Stephen A. Smith was a coon 25 years ago. He's still one now. He has never changed, and he's not going to change because he's always been about the money. And he has thrown so many people under the bus forever and a day. Well, you know what? I am going to call him, and listen, I would call him the N-word to his face because that's what he is. He is no different than anybody else who ever threw his own people under the bus. And the fact that he is on board with this shit, the fact that he could even make such a fucking ignorant coon statement to the effect that I support the state of Israel. And you know what's amazing? I'm not convinced that he doesn't know that this shit's going on. I'm not convinced that he doesn't. I think he does know. And I think his career is much more important than innocent children's lives. That's what I believe. I don't think he's a dummy. And the reason I say this is because he has a political podcast. He does this on a regular basis. He's not some fly-by-night commentator who doesn't know anything about politics. He does a show on it. It's not a show that I watch or that I have any interest in, but this is what he does. Who are you trying to impress, Stephen A? Do you weep for this innocent child that was shot dead a few days ago? Probably not. Why would you? He can't advance your career, but Commissioner Adam Silver can, and maybe some of the big-time Knicks, Zio scum, maybe they can. Who knows? Sometimes in life, people deserve what they get. It's not a universal term, and that goes for any term. But sometimes people just absolutely deserve to be at the bottom of the barrel. Period. And that goes for everybody. If you are on board with the worst form of anything related to humanity, and you're okay with it, you get what you have coming. Which is also why I have been very clear time and again, when it comes to people in the Jewish community who end up catching shit, as they are now, because they've been stone silent about the genocide, I don't have sympathy for you. Like Jen said, you had 3 weeks after October 7th to get this right. You didn't get it right? You're going to get what you have coming. And that's it. I have lost an incredible amount of money. I have lost relationships. I've lost a lot to speak up. And I'm not saying everybody has to do it the same way. But to say the things that Stephen A said, 1000% needs to be called out for it. Fair enough, Jennifer. See that? At least 238 fishermen have been killed. What that tells me is, and what that should tell everybody else, is that they hunt fishermen for sport. There's no other reason. The reason they gun them down, like a lot of things that the Zionist entity does, they kill for fun. Let's shoot that fisherman. Why? Just for the fun of it. That's how you know there's no humanity. It doesn't exist. Over, done, goodbye. And that's it. It pains me to ever have to acknowledge this nonsense. And yet, basketball was my favorite sports when I played. Still love the game, but I hate what it's become. And I hate that Stephen A. Smith is considered a prominent voice within that community. He shouldn't be. And it is sad, and it's painful. And like I said, our channel has paid dearly for telling the truth. They bury us in a corner like they've done all night. This is the worst Saturday we've ever had since I've started doing it on Saturday. There is nothing close to this. This is like this is like trying to pretend like we don't exist. And yet, I'm not going to stop saying what needs to be said.